I'm a bit late on this week's upload, but anyway, welcome back. And if you haven't watched one of my videos before, my name's Jordan, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the first few key steps that you'll need to do if you're wanting to move to Japan for drifting. As this is a question I've had come up a few times for me before, and I have personal experience doing so, and I'm currently living here full-time. So first off, before you even think about moving here, I would recommend coming here on a holiday and kind of feeling it out and seeing if you like it, and also trying to make connections with people that are living here and make friends and stuff like that in the area that you will want to live in, because by the time you end up wanting to actually move here, that'll make things a lot easier, as there'll be a lot of unexpected things you'll not know how to do, or you'll need help along the way in doing so. Even at this stage now, I still need a hand here and there. Also not essential, but I would highly recommend trying to study a little bit of Japanese before you come here. Even just basic stuff and being able to read like a little bit is really going to make your life a lot easier and better but once you finally do move over. So next, you've come over, you've felt it out, and you've found, yep, this is for you, this is something you want to do. The first thing you're going to need to think about is a visa. And if you're from New Zealand or Australia or another country like that, you're able to apply for a working holiday visa, which basically lets you stay here for a year and do pretty much fairly unrestricted work and be able to obviously travel around at the same time. It's mainly for being able to experience the country with some income, not really a full working visa, but yeah, you can have a full-time job and live here for a year. The other way, I know for America and a few other countries, you're not able to get this. So you're kind of limited to a working visa, which will mean you'll need to be sponsored by a Japanese company, which will mean you'll need to be a specialist in some sort of field and be sponsored by that company to come over here and work. Also with the visa, you're going to need a Japanese guarantor. If you're getting a working visa, that'll most likely be your work sponsor who'll be your guarantor. But for a working holiday visa, that might, if you can find your work first, that might be it. Otherwise, you need to find a Japanese friend or some company that will be your guarantor while you're here. The next fairly important point to consider is the where. If you're coming to live here for drifting in particular, this is fairly important, as you'll most likely want to be based in Kansai or Kanto, which are kind of like the main two areas for drifting in the country. They have the biggest cities and the most amount of tracks nearby, and people that are doing it. So if you want to get more easily accessible, then those are probably the two best bets. Also, I would try get somewhere out of a city, as once you're trying to do things like car park and bits and pieces like that, a lot cheaper and more common if you're out of the city, and this will also mean you're closer to circuits and garages and stuff like that. So yeah, try stay out of the city just to make it cheaper and more realistic for you to be able to do this. Although living in the city is still possible, when I first moved here, I was living in the city, but my car park was 20k yen a month, so like $200 or $250, so pretty expensive. And also the rent is a bit more expensive, but yeah, doable. But yeah, if you're living outside of the city, it's like half of that, so yeah, definitely something to consider. Next is the when. This might not be super important to you, but in Japan the seasons are fairly extreme, with summer being ridiculously hot and then winter also being super cold, and meaning pretty much no driving at the circuit as it's snowing, unless you're living in some of the areas that allow snow drifting on the circuits, or the snow drifting where in K cars. But yeah, the winter means pretty much drifting is out, so that might be something you're going to want to plan into your trip. But yeah, that might not affect you at all, but yeah, that's just another little point to consider. Next up is accommodation. And with this, you'll pretty much be limited to a guest house or an apartment if your work is willing to sponsor you one. But doing it on your own, you're not going to be able to rent an apartment, as they're normally 1 or 2 year contracts, which won't be valid in your 1 year in your 1 year visa period. When I first came over here, I was living in a guest house, which is a pretty affordable way to do it and nothing too wrong with it. So yeah, that's probably the easiest hassle-free way, unless your company who you're working for was able to rent an apartment on your behalf. But yeah, have a look for guest houses in the area you want to live in, or yeah, obviously if you found work that's going to help you, then by all means go for an apartment. Next up, you're going to need to think about getting a job, as you're going to need some way to be able to afford this. This is something where it's going to be fairly limited also, depending on your skills and Japanese level. Also not essential, but I would highly recommend trying to study a little bit of Japanese before you come here. Even just basic stuff and being able to read like a little bit is really going to make your life a lot easier and better, but once you finally do move over. But for the most part, if you're from an English speaking country, you're pretty much going to be doing English teaching or something like that, which is a relatively easy job to land, working at a school or something like that, which is the most likely job to land fast, and they have the most locations throughout the country for jobs for foreigners. So yeah, have a look at that. And with English skills, they'll normally end up helping you with accommodation and bits and pieces while you're staying here, like bank accounts and car parks and all that sort of stuff. So that is one privilege about it. But yeah, if you have some specialist skills in another field or have a high Japanese level, that'll open up more opportunities to you. But being your first year here, I'm guessing your Japanese skill level isn't that high. And so yeah, pretty much limited to that, which is also what I was doing when I first moved here too. So yeah, I had no English teaching experience before that, so it's totally doable without any experience. Just if you're from a native English speaking country, that's normally all they care about. Some places will want you to have a degree of some sort. It doesn't really matter. Obviously a teaching one is better and experience is better. But yeah, I came here with no teaching experience and no degree, so it's doable like that. You just need to find the right place. The last topic I'm going to address for today is getting a car and car park. This one's kind of tricky, as there's kind of some kind of funny rules in Japan that I don't think any other country really has, where basically when you buy a car, you need to have a car park to register it to. Well, in Japan, for regular sized cars like Nissan Silvias and JZXs, etc., you will need to have a registered car park for that car. For the smaller K cars with the yellow plates you might have seen, they do not need a car park to be registered to. So anyway, this car park, on top of having to have a registered car park for your car, it needs to be within 2 kilometers of your current address. So, and it can't be just a normal pay-by-day car park. You need to have a monthly car park. So basically you'll go around the area where you're living in and find some phone numbers of car parks that look like they can't have some spots, and just basically give the owner a call and be like, hey, is there any parking spots available? And then you can secure them if they do have one available. But yeah, it needs to be 2 kilometers from where your car is, and when you're registering and when you're buying your car, you're already going to need to have that car park. So both the car and the car park kind of need to be lined up at the same time. With the car, I would recommend probably getting some of Sharkin or registration already on it. And this is going to save you a lot of headaches, as it's kind of a painful process, especially if it's been modified and stuff like that. It might need a lot of things changed back. So recommend getting a car with Sharkin already on it. Or yeah, if you have friends that work in the industry and have a car and are able to do it for you, they have a workshop and stuff like that, there's obviously that option. But yeah, if you're moving straight over from overseas, you probably don't know that many people, so it's probably easier just to buy a car that's already street legal and then just find the car park and register it to your name to that car park. That's probably the easiest way to do it without trying to add too many complications to the process, which is already fairly daunting when you first move over. Even now, it's not fun registering a car or doing Sharkin and bits and pieces like that. Today's video was a bit of a change in pace from my regular uploads, but if you enjoyed it, leave me a message and let me know on a topic you'd like me to expand more on. But yeah, I'll probably be making a second video more talking about the actual driving side and the costs and all of that sort of thing involved, and going into a bit more detail on that specifically, just to give you a bit of an idea of what it's really like when you're living here. So yeah, just to shed some light on that and to give you guys some idea of what kind of plan you need to make if you wanted to do something like this for yourself. Yeah, in the meantime, check out some of our older videos, and yeah, let me know what else you want to see, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.